Hey, look at this smoothie. Look how beautiful it is. Hey, I was just inspired to make a video for various reasons. This smoothie, chief among them. It's so pretty. And it smells so good. I'll tell you what I put in it. A little bit of water, 2 pounds of strawberries, 2 bananas, and an orange. So, there's of course other content to this video because food itself is not really enough to get by in life. you need other, you know, energy, and ice cubes in this smoothie. Yeah, you need other energy, like you need to sleep, for instance, and you need to have love. Or at least it really helps. It really helps if you want to feel good. One thing that I really love about smoothies is that, well, I have kind of this intention to eat a whole lot of fruits and vegetables, and sometimes, because in the law, I have this intention because I know that what I really want is the way that I really want to feel, what I really want to experience is attainable through the consumption of large quantities of fruits and vegetables. Sometimes I really want something more stimulating. And when I say stimulating, you know, I kind of equate stimulation and sedation, in fact, because I have a whole lot going on up here and in here, and it's a topsy-turvy world that we are living in. And so sometimes I want something that is not a fruit or a vegetable to eat because it's a lot like drugs, which really, you know, quiet you down. And I just, you know, I try as hard as I can to chill out, you know, without wrecking my body. It doesn't always, you know, I'm not always successful. I just get up and try again. And what I want to say is that smoothies really help me consume more fruits and vegetables because I will, it's just a lot more easy to consume a lot of fruits and vegetables when you put them all in a smoothie. Like, I just didn't really have the willpower to eat the strawberries individually, but putting them in a smoothie, I could eat a lot of them. And what happened is I started preparing it, and then I just started eating the strawberries anyway. But this, I knew that this would turn out so beautifully that I just made it anyway. I was also really excited because I'm really happy because one of my favorite people in the world is this other guy on YouTube. I've never actually met him, but he's really changed me quite a lot. He goes by liferegenerator, and I was really happy because I just had like a discussion with him, like through the comments back and forth. It was kind of cool, you know, because I put a little question, you know, under the video. I didn't expect for him to respond, but then we ended up having this whole conversation. So that was kind of cool. I'll tell you what we were talking about. We were talking about science, and in his video he just had this quote that I had to address. Well, he said something that I had to address. He said that you have to sleep to recharge the electricity in your nervous system and brain. And anyone could easily have just zipped right by and continued to watch the video. But I had to stop and think about that for half a second before realizing, okay, wait a second, things are not quite so simple. And so I kind of brought that up with him and said, you know, well, I mean, basically what I said was that, you know, this isn't really what you get taught. Like, if you study these sorts of things, neuroscience class, you know, neuroscience books written today do not describe such a phenomenon. This is an idea from the mid-20th century. It's not really something, you know, recharging your electricity when you sleep. It's not really entirely accepted idea. And he responded to me and he said that science can't really explain everything. And I responded to that. You'll have to forgive me for giving my own comments way more credit than his. But I have kind of a better memory for what I said than what he said at this point. Well, he said science can't explain everything. And this kind of went on for a while, a back and forth, which is what was so exciting, because I was just so happy to get, you know, have this really amazing person pay attention to me. And it really, it's been like my intention to meet this guy and connect with this guy for a number of years now. And he responded to one of my comments on his videos about 6 months ago or so. And then now this whole conversation of comments is just building up to actual manifestation of my intention, which will happen, because that's just, you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, or some of them in particular, you understand, you know, how my life works. Well, anyways, I kind of, I said that, in response, I said that, well, you know, I think that there are things that science can't explain yet, but if we have a scientific question in mind, like what is the purpose of sleep, or, you know, what happens when you sleep, if we have the vocabulary and understanding to ask that scientific question, it is definitely possible to give it a scientific answer. We may not have it yet, but it's definitely possibly there. Mostly the reason that I bring up any of this at all is because this idea that has come up in this conversation with liferegenerator, which ended with us just kind of like complimenting each other and saying, you know, like, well, you know, whatever, you're cool. But anyways, the reason I really wanted to bring up this discussion at all is because this is a topic I've wanted to address for a while now. Well, because I'm always thinking about it. You know, I don't know. I've been wanting to address so many topics for a while now because I have so many things on my mind. But this in particular has always kind of fascinated me. This idea of the limits of science and the, you know, the potential and limits of science and knowledge and understanding of the physical world. How deep can our understanding go? How deep is it relative to how deep it potentially could be? So, I'll tell you what I think. Why else would I make a video, right? So, I'll tell you what I think. I think that relative to the potential depth of all scientific understanding of the universe. We are like, we don't, even come close to that in our current understanding. In fact, we don't even have a fraction of it, because the potential for scientific understanding is infinite. And this is what I see happening. This is my observation of reality, is every time we learn something, you simply come up with another question. And every time you find the smallest particle, you just have to ask, well, what is that particle made of? Or, what particles orbit that particle? There's always something else there. And then once you get to that particle, then you look for the next one, etc. Ad nauseum, ad infinitum. And then eventually, if you get bored of that, then you can ask, well, what sort of ocean of reality, what ether do these particles exist within? And maybe you could answer that question, and then you could say, okay, well, we discovered, we realized the nature of space and matter and dark matter and antimatter and everything that is the ocean in which everything exists. Okay, well, now you can ask the question, well, then what does that exist within? So basically what I'm trying to get at is that for every knowledge that you I'm talking about knowledge as a partitive noun, but for every bit of knowledge that you acquire, you can simply ask another question, which is why scientific understanding will never actually be completed. But on the flip side, while complete scientific understanding can never actually occur, it also never has to stop. So what you kind of get is that scientific knowledge will continue to increase infinitely, but we will never actually reach the understanding of everything. It's kind of like there are infinite even numbers, but somehow there's only half as many even numbers as there are total numbers. Right? So while our acquisition of scientific knowledge is potentially infinite, the potential scientific understanding of the entire universe is even more infinite. Well, in any case, something that a lot of people talk about is this concept of the singularity. Singularity is a notion that technological progress will, well, it's easiest for me at least to understand this visually, so let me give you a visual. So, the singularity, technological progress, all of a sudden reaches a point where somewhere in time, as time goes along, we have so much technology that technology itself can accelerate its own finding. So that's kind of when the curve starts getting almost vertical. But there's so, like I was describing earlier, it's the nature of reality is such that there is infinite knowledge to be had, and we can never have infinite knowledge because one would presume that knowledge is countable. So we, and so we can theoretically list all of knowledge, but we can't, it would take us infinite time to do so. And so that kind of doesn't really apply to reality. But I think, given the nature of that curve related to this concept of the singularity, which I have faith in, which I believe in, which I understand to be true and real, we can assume that these questions about sleep and electricity and love and life, we can actually answer all of these questions. I mean, the fact that we have the question, I think, implies that the scientific answer is there. It's just going to take a while to figure it out. But it is there. I think that it is the nature of people to fill in the gaps in their scientific understanding with various things, including religion, of course. That's an obvious one. And also, they fill in the gaps with stimulation and sedation. If they're not religious, if you're not a religious person, and it would just drive you nuts to sort of sit down and realize that you don't really understand even a fraction of how the universe actually works, then you might be tempted to really do yourself in with various chemicals. I am so familiar with this kind of reaction. In that sense, religion can be a really positive thing, but it's not really necessarily any more real. This is such a controversial thing, because when I say religion, then all of a sudden, I'm insulting people somehow. But I actually, it seems like I don't really attract many viewers that are like that. If some of you are, feel free to discuss with me your ideas. But back in the old days, back in the day, human beings made all these creation myths, and that was just the beginning. They said, man, how the heck did we get here? We do not understand reality, but we want to, so we'll make up this story about it, And, of course, there's nothing wrong with this, but it's just simply not real. Well, that sort of mindset of filling in the gaps of knowledge has kind of persisted into today. And look, guys, everyone does it. I do it. I'm not saying that it's a wrong thing to do. I'm just observing I'm just observing human behavior, my own behavior and the behavior of others. Well, that sort of creation myth paradigm of just filling in the gaps arbitrarily in your scientific knowledge of the world has definitely continued up to the modern era. And so nowadays, though, we don't so much have people making up their own creation myths anymore. It seems like you either have already accepted one that is written in one of the great spiritual texts, or else you just fill in the gaps with the Big Bang creation myth. Again, I'm not making fun of anyone, because Big Bang, it sounds like a viable explanation to me, but whatever explanation you give me is just going to give me more questions. I think the Big Bang is probably a good place to start. In any case, this filling in the gaps mentality has continued into the present day. Nowadays we get it more like, less with creation myths, as I was just saying, but now we get it more with people, you know, we talk about the soul, and we talk about love, and we talk about nerve energy, and, you know, bringing it back to the liferegenerator video, talking about, you know, recharging your energy while you sleep, your electricity, your electrical charge while you sleep. You know, a lot of people fill in the gaps regarding how these, the mechanisms of how this actually works by saying things like, oh, well, there are some things science can't explain. And that is, I don't think that that is really helpful. And I do it too, so it's not like I'm telling people not to do this, because I do it too. I'm just observing, simply observing, like, behavior, you know, and I'm looking at myself and thinking, you know, what would be really helpful is to figure out, you know, how can I deal with these gaps of knowledge and understanding in my life, you know, how can I really treat this, how can I really, you know, how can I deal with constantly being in the dark about how the world works? You know, the answer is not to, you know, join a church, because then you simply are filling in the gaps. You know, you're with you know, you're filling in the gaps with putty. You know, it's not actually real. It's comforting, but it's not actually substantive. So it's one strategy for quelling the demons within. It doesn't necessarily get you any actual progress, but, you know, to each their own. I have done various things that I am not proud of to, you know, to quell my own demons, and it's not pretty. Whatever you do, it's not perfect, but you just kind of get up the next day and keep trying, so it's all good, right? Make yourself a strawberry banana smoothie, you know, do your thing, you know, make some YouTube videos. Oh man. So that's the end of my video. I'll see you soon. Bye. You can subscribe to my channel if you want. I make lots of videos. I like to talk about dreaming. I like to talk about peace and love and food. And I make songs as well from time to time, and I really enjoy everyone who participates in my videos with me, so maybe see you around. Bye.